The clean version of hell, metal doors slam shut one after another, echoing through the corridor. The light overhead flickers, buzzing faintly. A young man sits on the concrete edge of his bunk, staring at the wall. His hands shake. Someone outside the cell whistles softly. "Yo, new kid," a voice says from the shadows. "You know the rules, right?" No reply. The sound of boots approaches. The man looks up. "Rules are simple." The voice continues. "You pay, or you play." Silence. "You deaf." Another voice joins in, rougher, closer. "Give us your food tickets, or we take something else." The man stands, his chest tightening. "I ain't giving you nothing." A slow laugh fills the air. "That's cute. You think you got a choice." The door buzzes. The lock slides. Two figures step inside. Faces hard, eyes cold. The air feels heavier. The young man steps back until his shoulders hit the wall. "You really want to do this?" The first punch comes fast. His head snaps to the side. A tray crashes to the floor. He swings back. Flesh meets bone. Yelling fills the hallway. Then chaos. Boots running. Metal striking metal. Someone screams for a guard. Someone laughs. An officer appears in the doorway, eyes blank. "Break it up," he says, voice flat, but he doesn't move. The fight doesn't stop. It grows. Fists, knees, breathless shouting. The officer finally steps in, swinging a baton. The young man drops, hands over his head. Blood runs down his cheek. The others scatter. The officer looks down. "You'll learn," he mutters. The cell door slams again. The light flickers twice, then dies. The young man whispers into the dark. "This ain't jail. This is the clean version of hell." Before the island, the sound of a subway rattles overhead. A corner store glows under yellow lights. The same young man leans against a brick wall, laughing with friends. Plastic bag of chips in one hand, plans for tomorrow in the other. "Job interview at 9, he says. "I'm done with street stuff. For real this time." A friend slaps his shoulder. "Bro, that's what you said last month." He laughs. "Yeah, but I mean it now." Then, out of nowhere, red and blue lights flood the block. Two police cruisers pull up fast. Doors swing open. Officers step out, hands near their holsters. "Hands up. Don't move." "What's going on?" the young man asks, startled. "You match the description of a robbery suspect," one of them barks. "That's crazy. I just got off work." They grab him, twist his arms behind his back, and cuff him before he can explain. His friends shout from a distance. He didn't do nothing, but no one listens. Minutes later, he's in the back of a patrol car, city lights flashing past. He whispers to himself, "This gotta be a mistake. They'll figure it out." Hours crawl by inside the holding cell. Sweat, metal benches, the smell of bleach and fear. Another detainee looks at him through tired eyes and says quietly, "If they send you to Rikers, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open." He laughs nervously. "I'm not going there. I didn't even get charged yet." The man shakes his head. "Don't matter. If you can't post bail, that's where you're going." The words hang in the air. The next morning, a guard calls his name. Paperwork is handed over. "Bail denied," someone says without emotion. "You're being transferred." "To where?" he asks. "Rikers Island." The name hits like a hammer. He's loaded onto a bus with others, wrists shackled. The city disappears behind the dirty window. Bridges turn to water, water turns to fences. When the gates appear, it's like watching the world end quietly. Barbed wire glints under a gray sky. A sign reads, "City of New York Department of Correction, Rikers Island." No one speaks. Only the sound of chains rattling as the bus stops. Inside the intake building, fluorescent lights burn bright. Guards shout orders. Shoes off. Hands on the table. One sprays disinfectant in the air. Another writes down his name like he's inventory. They hand him a tan uniform. Thin, rough, and cold. He stares at it for a long moment before putting it on. "Welcome to the island," a voice says. "Hope you're tougher than you look." He looks up, eyes hardening. "Guess I better be." The door closes behind him. Somewhere down the hall, another inmate yells. Someone else laughs. The young man takes his first step into Rikers. Cut to black. The first week, the air inside the cell block smells like metal, sweat, and something sour that never goes away. Voices echo through the corridor, laughter, arguments, someone banging on a wall for no reason. The new arrival walks slowly, eyes scanning everything. Old heads watch him from their bunks. One of them nods toward an empty bed. "Take that one." Don't touch nobody's stuff. He drops his mattress and sits. The metal frame groans under his weight. Across the room, two men argue over a phone card. One throws a punch. The other barely flinches. A guard glances over, then turns away. First lesson learned, nobody cares. The morning routine, a whistle blows at dawn. Everyone moves at once. Lines form. Cold oatmeal, hard bread, and bitter coffee. He eats quietly, watching the room. Someone slaps his tray. Yo, you from Queens, right? My cousin know you. He doesn't answer. The man grins. Don't worry. Ain't no beef, yet. The table laughs. He forces down his food and leaves early. Outside, the yard opens under the cloudy sky. Inmates pace in circles like caged animals. He walks alone. A whisper follows him. Don't look weak, bro. They smell fear in here. He nods without looking back. Nighttime noise sleep doesn't come easy. The lights never fully go out. Every few minutes, someone yells, someone laughs, someone cries out in the dark. Metal scrapes against metal as inmates trade food or favors through the bars. He presses a pillow over his ears. Still hears everything. From down the hallway, a voice sings an old song, off-key but full of soul. For a brief second, the chaos softens. Then, a fight breaks out again. Guards rush by. Someone screams. He stays still, heart pounding. This place, he whispers, ain't made for living. The laundry job by midweek, he's assigned to work detail, laundry. Long tables, heavy steam, broken fans. Sweat drips as he folds endless piles of uniforms. A man beside him says, "You quiet." That's good. Quiet people survive longer. He just nods. Keep to yourself. Watch your back. And whatever you do, don't owe nobody nothing. He looks up. What happens if you do? The man gives a small, tired smile. Then this place collects its debt. The phone call at last, phone time. He stands in line, clutching a scrap of paper with his mom's number. When it's finally his turn, he dials fast. Ma? It's me. Her voice cracks. Where are you, baby? I'm okay, he lies. It's just for a while. I'm okay. She cries quietly on the other end. Please, keep your head down. I'm trying. The call cuts after a minute. He stares at the dead receiver, hands shaking. Behind him, another inmate taps his shoulder. Yo, time's up, man. He hangs up and walks away. The test that night, someone slides a packet of chips across the floor to his bunk. A small gesture, or a setup. He doesn't touch it. Hours later, 3 men appear at his bed. You got our stuff? I didn't take nothing. Wrong answer. They surround him. The room goes quiet. Everyone watches, but no one moves. The first hit comes fast. He fights back, hard. Fists fly. Blood spatters the floor. A whistle blows somewhere, but too late. He drops one man before the others tackle him. Boots stomp. A guard's baton swings. Break it up, someone shouts. Bodies hit the floor. Breathing heavy. Silence. As the others are dragged away, he lies there, nose bleeding, chest burning. One voice whispers from the darkness. Welcome to the clean version of hell. Fade to black. The code of silence. The cell door opens with a screech. Morning light leaks through the narrow window, dust floating in the beam. The young man sits on his bunk, his face swollen from last night's beating. He doesn't speak. He doesn't move. Across the block, other inmates whisper. He fought back. Someone else mutters. Then he better watch himself now. He stands, washes his face in the sink. Cold water burns the split in his lip. He looks in the cracked mirror, barely recognizes himself. The doctor who doesn't ask a nurse in a white coat steps in later that morning. She looks at his bruises, jotting notes on a clipboard. What happened? He hesitates. I fell. She studies him for a moment. Everybody falls in here, she says quietly, and signs the paper. No more questions. As she leaves, he hears a guard say, Paperwork's done. He's fine. The block's quiet rule by now. He understands the rhythm. Keep your head down, mind your business, and never snitch. Word spreads fast on Rikers, faster than the food line. In the yard, 2 men argue over a stolen pair of sneakers. The crowd forms quick. No guards move. Within seconds, it's over. One man limps away. The other just stares at the ground, breathing heavy. Later, a group passes by him. One whispers, You saw nothing. You heard nothing. He nods. That's the rule. The code of silence. A visit 2 weeks in, visitation day. Through thick glass, he sees his mother, older than he remembered. Her hands tremble as she holds the phone. Baby, You look tired. I'm fine, Ma. They say your trial's delayed again. He looks down. Yeah. I'm praying for you. He swallows hard. Keep doing that. A guard taps the glass. Time's up. He presses his hand against the glass. She does the same. The phone clicks off. The feeling of her touch fades fast. Back in the corridor, another inmate laughs softly. That's the worst part. The goodbyes. He doesn't respond. Hunger strike days later. A rumor spreads. Food trays are contaminated. Someone finds bugs in the beans. Half the dorm refuses to eat. Guards warn them to drop it. They don't. By nightfall, power goes out in the block. Darkness, pure and heavy. Voices whisper in the dark. They cutting the lights to make us shut up. Someone pounds on a door. A baton hits metal in return. In the blackness, the young man feels the weight of it all. The noise, the silence, the fear that never leaves. He whispers, "How's this even real? How can this place exist?" From a bunk nearby, an older inmate answers, voice calm but broken. "'Cause nobody outside wants to believe it's this bad." The lights flicker back on. Guards walk past, faces blank. Trays of food return. The same beans, same smell. Everybody eats. Nobody talks. The silence wins again. The whisper later that night, while lying awake, a voice from the next cell calls softly. "Yo, Queens, you trying to make it out of here alive?" He answers, "What you think?" Then listen close. Keep quiet. Stay invisible. Don't owe nobody. Don't trust nobody. And never, ever, call for help. Help don't come here. The young man stares at the ceiling. The hum of fluorescent lights buzzes above him. His eyes stay open long after midnight. In the faint glow, he sees the reflection of his face in the metal wall. Older, colder, changed. He whispers again, barely audible. This really is the clean version of hell. Fade to black. The system eats its own. Rain pounds against the tiny window of the dorm. Inside, the air is thick, humid, and restless. The young man sits on the edge of his bunk, watching the drops run down the glass. Every sound feels louder when it rains. Keys jangling, doors clanging, voices echoing from the hallway. Across the room, two officers argue quietly near the control booth. Their words drift down the corridor. "You see the numbers?" one says. "We're short 5 men again." "Short 5? We're short 20. Whole block running itself." The other laughs bitterly. "That's how it's always been. Let the inmates police each other. Saves us paperwork." The trade later that evening. Whispers move through the dorm like smoke. Something new is in circulation. A pack of cigarettes, a phone battery, a bag of coffee. The guards turn their eyes away, as long as it stays calm. One inmate nods at the young man. "You work laundry, right? Slip me some bleach. I'll trade you protection." He hesitates. "Protection from who?" The man smirks. "From everybody else." He says nothing, turns away. But the next morning, his locker is torn open, clothes scattered. A message scratched into the metal. "You chose wrong." Control and chaos in the mess hall. Tension crackles like live wire. Two inmates shove each other. A tray hits the floor. Suddenly, the whole room explodes into shouting. Guards rush in, but their movements are half-hearted, tired. One simply leans against the wall, arms folded, watching. When it's over, blood stains the tiles. Later, in the hallway, that same officer lights a cigarette and mutters, "They'll fight again tomorrow." Nothing changes here. The young man passes by, eyes down. He hears every word. The broken officer. A week later, he's sent to the medical unit. There, a familiar face, the officer who once laughed during his first beating. Now that same man sits on a bench outside the exam room, head in his hands. Another guard whispers, "They jumped him in the yard. One of his own units set him up." The officer looks up, eyes hollow. "I tried to help one of them. Should have known better." The young man watches quietly. For the first time, he sees it. Even the guards aren't safe here. The system doesn't protect anyone. It eats its own. Night of fire that night, chaos returns. Someone sets a trash bin on fire. Smoke fills the block, alarms blaring. Inmates bang on doors for air. Guards yell orders through the haze. The young man grabs a wet towel, presses it over his face. The smoke burns his throat. Someone kicks open a door, shouting, "They locked us in." Through the cloud, he sees silhouettes running. Inmates and officers mixed together, no difference now. When the sprinklers finally go off, the fire dies, but the fear stays. Hours later, They're all herded back to their cells, dripping, coughing, shaking. He lies down, soaked to the skin, listening to the distant hum of generators restarting. A voice from somewhere down the tier mutters, "You see that? Even hell catches fire sometimes." He closes his eyes, too tired to speak. The whisper after by dawn. The block smells like wet concrete and burned plastic. Everything feels heavy, slow. A new inmate is brought in, eyes wide, scared. The young man watches as the door closes behind him. The same sound he once heard weeks ago. He finally says, almost to himself, "He don't even know yet." Nobody knows until it's too late. The sound of rain returns. The island feels smaller, hungrier. He leans his head back against the wall, eyes half open. Rikers, he murmurs, ain't a place. It's a warning. The turning point, the rain stops, but the smell of smoke still lingers. The block feels half dead, quiet in the way danger is quiet. The young man wakes up to the sound of shuffling feet. Breakfast trays slide under doors. Cold eggs, dry bread. He doesn't touch it. Down the hall, someone hums softly, the same broken song from weeks before. It's the only sound that doesn't feel angry. He looks around the cell, cracked walls, damp corners, his uniform hanging from a nail. Every inch of the place is tired. But he isn't numb anymore. Not today. Something inside him has changed. The conversation in the yard that afternoon, he sits beside an older inmate. Thin, gray hair, eyes like steel. The man's been here longer than anyone can remember. "You've been watching," the old man says. "But now you're thinking." Thinking about what? About the difference between surviving and living. He stays quiet. The old man continues. "Most people here, they just exist till their time runs out. But some of us, we want the world to see what this place really is." "How you do that?" The old man smiles faintly. "You wait. And when the time comes, you speak. Even if your voice shakes." The message that night, someone slides a folded note under his cell door. Meeting. Laundry room. Midnight. He almost ignores it. But curiosity wins. When he slips into the laundry room later, a small group is already there. 5 men, all from different blocks. One of them speaks in a low voice. "We're done being quiet. No more." They cover everything up. "We need the world to know what goes on in here." "How?" someone whispers. "There's a reporter who writes about prisons. We get a message out through work detail. Let them see what's happening inside." It sounds impossible, dangerous. But the young man listens. His heart pounds. For the first time since arriving, he feels something stronger than fear. Purpose. The setup over the next few days. Whispers travel through the dorms. Notes passed, plans made. Nobody says much out loud. Cameras can't catch what's written on scraps of napkins. He smuggles out a piece of paper hidden in a stack of folded uniforms. Inside, the words are simple. "Inmates are dying. Nobody's talking. Please help." He slips it into the laundry cart bound for the delivery dock. The risk is enormous. If he's caught, he's finished. Hours later, the cart rolls away. No one stops it. That night, he can't sleep. Every sound makes him tense. Footsteps, keys, whispers. But morning comes, and nothing happens. For now. The spark 2 days later, word spreads fast, too fast. Guards storm the dorm. Searches. Yelling. They tear through lockers, flip mattresses, dump food on the floor. Someone's found out. He stands still, heart hammering. An officer grabs him by the collar. "You think we don't know who sent that note?" He doesn't answer. "Say it." Silence. The officer stares, then shoves him back. "You'll break soon." They all do. He walks away, leaving the young man standing alone amid the wreckage. Inmates stare at him, some with fear, some with respect. No one speaks. The breaking point that night, the whole block buzzes with tension. Someone bangs on a pipe. Someone else shouts for silence. The old man's voice calls from the next cell, calm but sharp. "You did good, kid. Now just wait." He leans against the bars. For what? For the storm. Outside, lightning flashes through the slit of the window. The island trembles under thunder. He closes his eyes. Somewhere deep inside, he feels it. Something is coming. Something bigger than fear. The riot, the storm from the night before hasn't stopped. Wind howls through the broken window vents. Rain leaks from the ceiling in thin lines. Everyone's awake before sunrise. Nobody eats. Nobody talks. Something's different today. You can feel it in the air, the kind of stillness that comes right before everything breaks. The first spark down in the mess hall. Two inmates argue with a guard about cold food. The shouting spreads like fire. Trays slam. Chairs scrape the floor. Someone yells, "They treat us like animals." Another voice answers, "Then let's show them what happens when the cage opens." The sound turns into a roar. Metal tables flip. Plastic trays fly. Guards rush in, batons raised. But there are too many bodies, too much noise. One alarm blares, then another. Red lights flash. From across the hall, the young man stands frozen for a heartbeat. Then he moves, not toward the fight, but toward the back wall where smoke begins to rise. Someone set a mattress on fire. Chaos smoke fills the room fast. People cough, shout, push against locked doors. The sprinklers sputter but don't come on. A guard shouts into a radio that doesn't work. Another bangs on the door for backup. Inside, it's pure madness. Yelling, crashing, water dripping, fire popping. The young man grabs another inmate's arm. "We gotta open that door." Together, they slam a bench against it. The hinge bends, but doesn't break. Then the ceiling vent bursts open with a boom. Rainwater pours in from above, drenching everyone. Steam rises where it hits the flames. For a moment, it looks like the building itself is crying. The outside world knows hours later. Time's lost meaning. Sirens wail across the bridge. News crews gather beyond the gates. Word has leaked out. Rikers Island in lockdown after major disturbance. The smuggled note has reached its mark. Inside, prisoners are herded to the floor, wrists tied, coughing through smoke. Guards shout orders no one can hear. The young man lies face down, cheek against wet concrete. Through the haze, he sees the old man being dragged past, still upright, still calm. "You see?" the old man says softly. "They're looking now." The clean version of hell helicopter lights sweep through the windows, flashing blue and white. Everything glitters, the puddles, the metal bars, the blood on the floor, shining like a nightmare pretending to be order. This is the clean version of hell. Shiny uniforms, official reports, cameras rolling outside while inside the island still burns. A voice over the loudspeaker repeats the same phrase again and again, "Facility secure. Facility secure." But nobody inside believes it. The young man lifts his head, coughing, eyes burning. In that moment, he understands. This place isn't falling apart. It's working exactly as it was built to. He whispers, hoarse but clear, "This isn't a riot. It's the truth finally screaming." The aftermath, smoke still clings to the walls long after the fire's out. Every step echoes. Every cough bounces down the empty corridor. The block is wrecked, burned blankets, puddles, shattered trays. Inmates sit lined against the wall, wrists zip-tied, faces blank. Nobody says a word. The silence after the storm, a guard walks past, boots sloshing in water. He stops, points. "That one, put him in seg." Hands grab the young man by the shoulders, drag him down the hallway. The lights flicker overhead. Doors slam behind him one by one until he's alone in a narrow concrete cell. No window, just a cot, a toilet, and the buzz of the light. He sits, listens. Nothing. Then, through the vent, he hears someone humming the same old song again. The one that never really stopped. The investigation days blur together. Interrogations, questions, forms. Who started it? Who passed the note? Every time, same answer. "I don't know." They threaten him with years. He stares at the table, saying nothing. Across town, news anchors read headlines. Rikers under fire after violent disturbance. Politicians promise reform. Reporters beg for access. The island stays sealed. Inside, nothing changes except the faces of the guards. The ghosts of the block. Weeks later, they move him back to a quieter unit. The smoke stains still mark the ceilings. Some bunks are empty now. Rumor says the old man got transferred upstate. Nobody knows for sure. A young inmate asks, "Was it true what they said? You sent that message." He looks at the floor. "Does it matter?" The kid shrugs. "Guess not. Just thanks." He nods once. A visit that feels different. One morning, he's told, "You got a visitor." Through the glass sits a woman in a press badge, not his mother. Her voice is calm but steady. "I read your note." He stays silent. She leans forward. "It reached people. They're investigating now." He meets her eyes for the first time. "Will it change anything?" She hesitates. "Maybe not today. But now they can't say they didn't know." The buzzer cuts the line. She mouths two words before walking away: "Stay alive." The price of truth. Back in his cell, He lies staring at the ceiling. The hum of the light seems louder now. For the first time, he isn't afraid, just tired. Tired of silence. Tired of pretending this place is invisible. He closes his eyes. Outside, thunder rumbles again over the East River. Rain begins to fall, slow, steady, washing over the roof of the island. His voice drifts through the dark. They wanted the clean version. Now they'll see the real one. The exposure, morning fog drifts across the East River. From the bridge, the island looks quiet, just gray buildings and razor wire reflected in the water. But beyond the gates, everyone's talking. Headlines, televisions flicker in the staff room. Exclusive, whistleblower letter sparks Rikers probe. New York under pressure after prison riot footage leaks. The newscasters speak calmly, their words trimmed to fit the segment. Officials promise full transparency. Sources say the violence was contained inside the walls. The young man watches through a metal-grated window as a guard flips the channel. The sound cuts out. Only the scrolling caption remains. Investigation ongoing. The reporters a week later. Cameras line the bridge entrance. Microphones flash. Families of inmates stand in the rain, holding signs, "Close the island. Justice for the forgotten." One woman, his mother, stands in the crowd clutching a photo of her son. A reporter asks, "Why are you here today?" Her voice shakes but doesn't break. "Because my boy's still in there. And nobody deserves what they do to people in that place." Her words hit the evening news. Inside response that night, the warden walks the tiers with extra officers behind him. Orders bark down the hall. No talking after lights out. No letters. No visitors until further notice. Doors slam in rhythm. The message is clear. Control comes first, truth later. In his cell, the young man hears the lockdown siren. He smiles faintly. "They're scared now," he whispers. The leak a few days later, an anonymous email lands in a journalist's inbox. Photos of bruised inmates, mold-covered showers, ripped mattresses. The pictures spread online before officials can react. Hashtags appear. Hashtag Rikers Truth, hashtag clean version of hell. For the first time, the island isn't invisible. Protests break out downtown. Students chant. Former inmates speak out. One says on camera, "That place doesn't fix people. It breaks them so quietly the world doesn't hear the sound." Pressure builds as city council hearings begin. Politicians trade blame. The mayor promises immediate reforms. But back on the island, nothing feels immediate. Meals still cold. Cells still leaking. Guards still watching with the same blank faces. The young man receives a note slipped under his door. No name, no signature. Just 6 words. "They heard you. Don't stop now." He folds it carefully, hides it inside a Bible he doesn't read. The turning of the tide weeks later, an announcement echoes through the block. External inspection team arriving tomorrow. Everyone prepare for evaluation. Inmates stare at each other. Half hope, half disbelief. Some start cleaning their bunks. Others laugh. "You see? They only fix it when cameras coming." The young man looks out through the bars at the gray dawn. Outside, seagulls wheel over the water. He whispers, "Let them see everything." The inspection, the morning starts with a whistle. Louder than usual. Sharper. Everyone up. Cells clean. "Move it." Guards rush through the tier, handing out bleach, mops, trash bags. They're not angry today, just fast. Efficient. It's showtime. The makeover inmates scrub floors that haven't been touched in months. They wipe rust off bars, paint over mold, stack folded blankets like trophies. Broken lights flicker to life. New soap bars appear out of nowhere. One prisoner laughs under his breath. Guess hell got a cleaning crew. The young man works silently, watching every movement. He knows this is all theater. By noon, the block looks almost spotless. Almost. Arrival, a convoy of dark SUVs rolls onto the island. Reporters wait at the gates, cameras ready. Out step the officials, suits, clipboards, polite smiles. The warden leads them in, voice smooth and steady. As you can see, the facility is running normally again. They walk past rows of inmates standing straight, silent, rehearsed. Every eye follows them. But the smell, bleach and damp concrete, tells the truth. Behind the curtain, when the inspectors reach the laundry room, the young man feels a jolt of memory. This is where it all began. The note, the meeting, the risk. Now the machines hum neatly, uniforms folded in perfect stacks. A guard grins. Best kept unit on the island. The lead inspector nods. We'll review the logs. But when he bends to sign a form, a drop of rusty water falls from the ceiling onto his paper. He looks up. The ceiling above is cracked, leaking slowly. No one speaks. The illusion wobbles. The slips in the story as they move down the corridor. One of the inspectors, a woman, pauses. She glances at the walls, the dents, the faint burn marks from the riot. Has this section been repainted recently? She asks. The warden hesitates. Just routine maintenance. But her eyes linger on a word faintly visible beneath the new paint. Someone had scratched it deep into the wall before they covered it up. Help. She doesn't say anything, just writes something in her notebook. The conversation that evening, after the inspection, she finds herself in the corridor outside the segregation wing. Through the glass, she sees the young man cleaning the floor. Their eyes meet briefly. He doesn't speak. He just stares, calm, direct, unblinking. For a second, she sees more than a prisoner. She sees the story. She turns to her escort. I want to see the solitary logs for the last month, she says. The guard looks uneasy. Those are sealed, ma'am. Unseal them. The hidden file hours later, in an office filled with flickering monitors, she reads through pages of reports. Unexplained injuries. Missing footage. Inmate relocated. Reason undisclosed. Each line tells the same quiet lie. She closes the folder. Whispers to herself. The clean version. Outside, thunder rolls again over the East River. The camera pans back to the young man's face as he wipes the same spot on the floor, his reflection shimmering in the puddle. He knows something's shifting, finally. He doesn't smile, but the silence feels lighter. The uncovering days turn into weeks. The inspectors leave. The guards relax. The island goes quiet again. But silence doesn't mean safety anymore. Because this time, the world kept listening. The report one morning, a radio crackles in the staff room. The newscaster's voice is calm, but the words land like thunder. A leaked city report reveals evidence of abuse, falsified records, and deliberate neglect inside Rikers Island. Officials deny wrongdoing, but investigators say reforms are coming. The warden's coffee cup freezes halfway to his lips. Phones start ringing. Officers whisper. The walls are no longer keeping the truth in. The domino effect within days. Major outlets publish photos, testimony, and audio from inside the facility. Voices of guards, nurses, even former wardens, all confirming the same thing. That what happened on that stormy night wasn't an accident. It was a symptom. The city erupts with outrage. Protests flood the streets again. Signs rise higher this time. Rikers equals hell. In the island. Inside the storm back in his cell, the young man listens to the news echo through the hallway. Other inmates cheer quietly. Some cry. He just sits still, staring at the cracks in the wall where he once saw the word help. A guard stops outside his door. Congratulations, the guard mutters. You got your story. He doesn't answer. He's not sure if it's victory or just another beginning. The closure weeks later, a letter arrives under his door. No envelope. No name. Just typed words. The report's public. Your note started it all. The island will close by the end of next year. You're not forgotten. He folds it slowly, presses it against his chest. Outside, the dawn breaks over the East River, gold spilling across the water. The island looks peaceful for the first time, but only from far away. Because even as the sunlight hits the fence, the young man knows, for every person who ever lived through Rikers, that light will always come with shadows. The camera pans up from the cell, through the razor wire, past the skyline of New York. Sirens fade into the sound of wind over the water. A voice echoes softly. Rikers Island was built to hold people. But what it really held was the truth, buried, silent, waiting. And once that truth got out, even the island couldn't cage it anymore. If this story hit you, if it made you feel something, don't just scroll away. Smash that like button, drop a comment with one word, freedom, so the algorithm knows people still care about truth. And subscribe, because next time, we're going even deeper. Different prison, different name. Same hell, fire, Rikers Island. The clean version of hell,